Welcome back to the exciting adventures of Beefstick the Barbarian. Last time we explored the expedition hall, then went and paid a visit to this man named what was his name? Parnisk, I think. That was the fiance of this woman. She's not here anymore. Named Kendra. And he socked her in the eye, and she wanted me to give him his ring back. Turns out that wasn't him at all. So he's a SPEF dealer, but I guess he kind of crossed his dealers somewhat, and they sent the wizard over there. And the wizard essentially roughed him up, locked him in his room, and took over his house and cast an illusion on himself to appear as Parnisk. So I whooped the wizard up, I whooped all his mercenary dudes up, and I freed the guy. He didn't want me to tell Kendra that he was a dealer, but I was honest. I told her everything, and she went back to him. She's going to talk to him, and hopefully they could patch things up. Or not, whatever. My part in it is done. And that's where we left off. So,
sure.
While I'm here, I'm going to rest since Aleph is pretty beat up.
Welcome.
I also leveled up a couple of my guys. Not everybody. Sagani still needs 150 experience. Durance needs 26 experience. That's it. Everybody else leveled up. Alright.
Ready, Watcher. Got it.
So let's explore the rest of Copper Lane. I've been here, here, and here. There's a whole lot more. There's Lumdala's house, Scrivener's dormitory, Hall of Revealed Mysteries. That goes to a different area. That goes to the different area. Catacombs. Alright. See, we're over here. Let's see what this central square, like an auditorium or something, is all about. Soul for me to reach into. You see a man crosses his arms and sticks out his chin, moonlight and torchlight color his face. Bullshit. The elf standing in front of him wears a panicked expression. Are you mad? I've seen it. Aha! The first man cries, raising a triumphant finger. You just said you'd only heard it, the elf blinks. What in the name of Galloway's beast does that have to do with anything? You said you'd only heard it. Now you're telling me it's a monster the size of 2 Almoa with blood-dyed fur. The man takes a step closer to the elf. And now I'm saying you're a liar, Doran. Doran sputters. God's viscerous. Who cares what it looks like? It's a rabid wolf. You saw what it did to the sheep. The elf throws up both of his hands, shaking his head. You want to stay out here all night to see the thing yourself? Have it your way. I'm getting out of here. Fine. All right. Good. The elf storms off, casting one last glance over his shoulder as he disappears down the hill. The man sets off in the other direction, a sword in one hand and a torch in the other. Within minutes, he comes to a broken paddock where a dozen sheep lie dead. their throats torn and their innards scattered across the ground. It is not the work of a normal predator. Something crunches through the dry grass. Viserys spins, but sees nothing. He raises his torch higher. This time, a rustling sound from behind him, near the paddock. He turns again to see a wolf. It's not nearly as large as Dorn had sworn, and while its fur is matted with red around its throat and paws, the rest of the elf's description has proven to be a rather lurid exaggeration. Typical. Viserys takes some small satisfaction in even this while the wolf lunges for him, its jaws foaming and eyes rolling. Oh, there's Lumdala. Her house is up in the corner here. Your time has come, Sigrun. Your life is at an end. Oh, Laughton, she calls to me, the pallid knight. And you have such poor luck with women as it is. I cannot die yet, my children. What of my children? But you have no children. Of course I do, you fool. A wealth of them. Great armfuls of golden... That is, golden-haired tots, all of whom I love dearly. Ha! That it? That's all the play? Alright. The statuesque woman has a gaze that could cut stone. She turns her chiseled cheekbones to the sky and favors you with a look of acknowledgement. Her eyes shimmer under silvered eyeshadow and a razor-precise line of kohl. Before you could speak, she throws up her hand in a dramatic fashion.
Good day to you.
Autographs after the performance, please. Great art requires great concentration, and greatness is expected from the Revel of the Stars. What is the Revel of the Stars? We are the finest theater troupe in the city. We believe that the best art is immersive and true to life. She looks at the amphitheater with a rapturous expression. We stage our performances right here in Copper Lane for the edification of all. I suppose I could spare a moment for a fan. Does the Revel of Stars take in many new members? But of course, good drama is a balm to the soul, and we wish to offer a true theatrical experience to as many as possible. What kind of members do you take? We'll take in the new and old, the tall and the small, the experienced and inexperienced, whoever is best suited to fulfill the role to the utmost. How long do you keep members? As long as they're able to satisfy the demands of the roles. She smooths a wayward strand of hair. True acting can be a grueling process, so some last longer than others. Excuse me. What do you do? That depends entirely on the demands of the role. She lays a slender hand on her chest. I am the Pallid Knight, the widow of the wood, and the warrior queen Mokka. I'm trying to remember the pronunciations, how I'm supposed to say it. You know what, screw it. All at different times. To live a different life each day is a glorious thing indeed, my friend. Alright, well, that was awfully dramatic of you. Kadal. Sorry, can't talk right now. Oh, I guess not. Can I go up
Sure.
there? The benches are strewn with chicken bones, broken bottles, and greasy scraps of paper. Her soul shines bright, the 100 poison arrows of the Crimson Serpent's Rangers. Don't know that I want to go into the catacombs just yet. Speaking of, 23 hours to finish Bright Hollow. Can I do the barracks also? No, just one thing going at once. I gotta wait another 23 hours till I can start more. Someone actually stole something from the hall? How'd they manage to do that? Whale only knows. Grimda's looking for someone to blame, though, so stay clear of her. The library has an entire section devoted to ancient grand math and geometry. I'm sure that's exciting.
In here?
Fexa. Let's speak to Fexa. Welcome to the Hall of Revealed Mysteries.
Hail and well met.
The woman barely glances up from the tomes on the table as you approach. You're welcome to browse the stacks, but mind you keep your voice down. This is a temple, after all, and Grimda doesn't tolerate disorder. Who's Grimda? Fexa speaks reverently. Why, she's the High Archivist. She's one of the most accomplished scholars alive today. Nothing goes on here without her knowing about it. Almost nothing, anyway. She scratches behind her ear. You should probably tread lightly around her today. This is a temple? It looks like a library. Her eyes grow wide and round. That's because it is. Whale is a god of mysteries and answers, encryption and decryption, concealment and revelation. She raises her hand to the rows of shelves. Its guidance comes from the understanding of the unknown and the protection of hidden knowledge. The Hall of Revealed Mysteries was built to celebrate that. Well, she's really into being a librarian. More power to you, lady. To think there's such a place in Durwood. Incredible. I'd love a glimpse of the archives. How many secrets must sit upon these shelves? Fexa and Canna get along swimmingly. Fascinating. Isn't it? The temples dedicated to Whale tend to hold vast stores of knowledge. We use that knowledge to unravel and preserve the mysteries of the world. Tell me about yourself, Fexa. She throws her broad shoulders back. I am a scrivener and a devotee of Whale. It's my duty to look after our records and resources. Her chest swells with pride. Well, I'm glad you enjoy your work, Fexa. Yani Hauka. You see nothing at first. Inky darkness filling your vision. The dust of eons flooding your nose. You hear a strike, and a torch gutters into flame, revealing a man without a face and a library of books flickering in the dull orange glow. He moves to the closest shelf, sliding the torch into a socket, and gingerly pulls a black-bound book into his trembling hands. He flicks through it lovingly, caressing each page before turning to the next and the next. Finally, he finishes, placing the book in a satchel to his side, and takes down the torch. He spends hours wandering, reading, collecting, until his satchel is as thick as he himself and half as heavy, and begins to make his way back to the entrance. With a barely audible sigh, he draws 2 decaying doors closed, and the torch is extinguished. The books on these shelves cover the history and mythology of Old Valia. Records of books borrowed and Records of books borrowed and returned fill the cubby holes. Easy for me to say, huh? Well, I just want to look at it. I'm not going to take what's there because that would be stealing. But I could probably read stuff. 10 years of dawn. 10 years I tilled the Vorlas leaf. And 10 years I told myself that living in St. Waidwin's footsteps would bring me rebirth. Each dawn I'd pray that if thou art in darkness, he shall bring thee light. And each night would bring the same emptiness. For my decade of living as simple dye farmer, all I have to show for it is a great deal of purple clothing. Eothas has not spoken to us since he appeared at St. Waidwin. It was my hope that Eothas would claim me as his next vessel, but alas, the child of light remains silent. Every day I practice the ritual of banishing the shadows of the unfaithful, and every day I work my fields in solitude, without signs of Eothas returning. If thou art in darkness, he shall bring thee light. But how long must I remain lost in this long night of abandonment? Is this my punishment for keeping my faith a secret? Is Eothas hiding from me until I shout my reverence for all to hear? Surely he must know that the Derwoodans now hate him, and his followers, my countrymen, are quick to blame all that was terrible about the Saints' War on those of us still faithful to Eothas. Should they not be angry at Reitzeres' soldiers? Do the Derwoodans not realize that to dismiss the god of rebirth and redemption is to prevent all hope of healing? As I pen these words, I know that I must continue to till the dye leaf. I will awake each day with hope. If thou art in darkness, he shall bring me light. Each day I will pray that the dawn stars visit me, just as they visited St. Waidwin in his field of Vorlas. Will they come to me as they came to St. Waidwin? As a man and 2 women, luminescent and perfect? I am told they come to presage new times. I am told many things, and I struggle to find the faith to believe it all. And yet, each morning, the sun rises in the eastern sky, and each morning Eothas illuminates my simple plot of land, casting away the shadow of the unfaithful in his golden gaze. I thank thee, Eothas, for all the springs I've had, and all that will come. I am in darkness. Please bring me light. Adir Customs. Adir is a country rich with custom, and they are known for their strict adherence to them. Their customs run the gamut from grand celebrations, like Feast of Feasts, to Okay, I've read this one before. The symbols on these pages writhe and shift. They're dizzying to look at. The Adir Empire, Part 2, Expanding Borders. In 2602 AI, Adiran explorers returned from over the ocean, telling tales of the ruins and treasures there, and of expansive fields that were perfect for growing Vorlas. The explorers warned the Fairkening that that the locals were not friendly to outsiders, but the Fairkening seemed I think I've read this one before. Well, let's read through it again. I'm not completely sure if I've read this one. But the Fairkening, seeing this as an opportunity to extend his empire and secure trade on another continent, sent more explorers. Over the next 20 years, the areas that would become the Durwood was investigated, mapped, and colonized. In 2623, the first permanent Duran colonial settlements were established. Vorlas fields were set up north of the forest. Yeah, I've read this before. The Midwife's Memoirs. My mother lived every note of life's song. Bringing me into this world was her last verse. For this, my father scorned me and abandoned me. And for this very same fact, my town's midwife and adherent to Hylia raised me as her own. When I came of age, I learned that Hylia visits us on the screams of women in childbirth. And when a woman dies giving life to her child, her soul is carried away and reborn as an avian descendant of Hylia's court. Through the miracle of the Queen of Birds, my mother has been with me, watching over me my whole life. I wear the fetish charms of the cloud singer, the bird I dreamt my mother became. My feathery trinkets look gaudy and unbecoming, but it is a signifier to woman in need that I am a trained midwife, blessed by Hylia and living every note of life's song. The Queen of Birds wills us to shepherd new life into the world, and not, as the other gods so often desire, to end it. A follower of Magran once mocked my faith, saying I worship paintbrushes and birds, piddling things beneath the gods. I do not resent the other gods and the brutal necessities that they must oversee. But is not language, love, the arts, and creativity that which separates us from simple beasts? Hylia allows us to rise above our savage, feral selves. I am often amused that, upon seeing our holy aviaries, visitors frequently ask, "This is nice, but where is the real temple of Hylia?" Perhaps they think hallowed ground requires oppressive stonework and ceilings that hide the sky. They do not realize the Bird Queen stands not on ceremony. She makes herself manifest in the music of birds and in beauty of the ubiquitous open sky. Hylia prefers the worship of two children singing over 1,000 petitioners silently praying for victory. The sky, Mother, asks so little of us, and yet so much. We are charged to live every note of life's song. It surprises me how many fail to embrace this divine calling. Excerpts from the Sermon of Struggle. Choice is a luxury we earn through peace. Struggle is our fundamental nature. Even when our war banners sit idle, mankind foments strife. Friends argue with fists, lovers kindle jealousies, merchants compete with lies. Wherever mankind goes, struggle follows. Magran is goddess of fire and war, not bloodshed and conquest, though many in Reitzeris would tell it differently. How bitter they must be that Magran's priests were able to destroy a god made manifest. How bitter indeed. We who worship Magran are not addled barbarians or cloistered mystics. We are soldiers, armorers, watchmen, and bodyguards, artisans of conflict and protectors of our families and flags. We do not salivate for battle. We view war as unwelcome, but struggle in our fundamental nature. We do not pray for strife. We pray for the wisdom to resolve it quickly. We do not wish for war, but when it inevitably must be fought, we find divine ecstasy in discipline, efficiency, and excellence. Magran, guide us to the battle that is just and fair. Let us be your fire that burns away the profane, leaving only the righteous. If struggle is our fundamental nature, let victory be our inevitable state of grace. The Erosian calendar. Ani Erosio, the New Year. While only 150 years old, and of Valian origin as well, the Erosian calendar is currently used throughout most of the Durwood and the surrounding areas. While the Durwood was using the Adern calendar until recently, they gave it up in favor of the Erosian calendar. The transition was easy to get people to make because the Adern calendar was hopelessly inaccurate. Erosia calculated that it takes the planet approximately 334 days to orbit the Sun. So he took the 9 months from the Adern calendar and broke them into 16 months of 20 days each, with each season consisting of 4 months. The length of each month corresponds to how long it takes Belafa, one of our months, to circle the planet. At the end of each season, 3 days, not part of either season, are set aside for people to celebrate the transitions. Lastly, the final 2 days of the year, New Year and Mid-Year, are used to observe the beginning and midpoint of each year. To prevent any confusion for the transition from the old calendar to the new, Erosio kept the year the same. So although the calendar has only been in existence for 150 years, it is currently 2823 AI on the Erosio. Erosio gave the months Valian names, but in the Durwood and surrounding areas they called them by their translated names. The year is broken down into in the following way. New Year, a day to celebrate the arrival of the new year. Of all the holidays, this one is celebrated by most people around the Durwood and the Valian republics. Each new year is greeted with a fervent zeal to begin things anew and start with a fresh slate. Winter months, 2 at the beginning of the year and 2 at the end. Deep winter, Foniverno. Late winter, Tariverno. Spring dawn, 3 days. In prima, used to celebrate the transition of the world, rebirth and spring. Aophsian festivals are especially prevalent at this time, or were prior to the Saints' War. Springworth, spring months, early spring, preprima, mid-spring, prima, deep spring, fon prima, late spring, tar prima, summer rising, 3 days, inestu. A period of transition from birth to growth. Many ceremonies designed to usher children into adulthood take place during the summer rising. Summer months and mid-year. Early summer, praestu. Midsummer, majestu. Mid-year, a day of reflection and introspection. The year is half over. People who made promises on New Year use mid-year to assess their progress and renew their oaths. Deep summer, fonestu. Late summer, tarestu. Autumn falling, 3 days. In autumn. Harvest celebrations happen during autumn falling if the crops were particularly bountiful. If the harvest was small, supplication is given to the gods asking for better harvest the following year. Autumn months. Early autumn, pre-autumn. Mid-autumn, maj-autumn. Deep autumn, fon-autumn. Late autumn, ter-autumn. Winter dusk, 3 days. In inverno. Hey, I pronounced it correctly. Winter dusk is filled with celebrations of life and vigils for the dead. The world is returning to sleep. Plants die, and those still alive raise a toast to another year. Winter months. Early winter. Pre-verno. Midwinter. Marziverno. The Travels of Errol of Levi, 2662 to 2680 question mark? The Many Faces of Barath. How fitting that we know the god of cycles, doorways, mortality, and inevitability as Berath, while the Valians know this very same goddess Sirono. For if nothing else, Berath teaches us that duality exists in all things. There is life and death in life. Embrace this duality, and you honor Berath. In the runes of Eric Glanfath, Berath is depicted in the form of two semi-skeletal figures, one male, one female. Beunen I Aknu and Aknu I Beunen. Literally, life and death in life in the Glanthathan tongue. Male and female, inside and outside, life and death. We often think of Berath by imagining two sides of a coin, or the two endpoints of a journey. It is said that Berath has the most petitioners of every god, and this likely true. Who among us has not prayed for the cycle to hiccup? Who has not, in a moment of sadness, yelled to Berath to make an exception for our fallen loved ones? Berath may not rescue our loved ones, but it answers our prayers in its own divine way. Berath is the god that makes life end in death, and also the god that makes death end in life. Berath, Sirono, Benwan I Aknu, Aknu I Beunen. Whichever of these names you prefer to use deserves our prayers, for it has given us the promise of life's eternal renewal. The Saints' War, Part 2, Invasion. Waidwen personally led many of the battles during the war, exhibiting extraordinary supernatural powers. He seemed virtually untouchable on the battlefield, able to burn or even disintegrate his enemies with beams of blinding white light. With a god on his side, and possibly, as some said, inhabiting him, he was thought to be indestructible. It appeared that he may have been until the Battle of Halgot Citadel. The people of the Durwood knew that they would lose the war if they could not at least slow Waidwen down. Engineers, priests of Magran, and a few others working in secret, some say with Magran's direct help, developed a weapon they hoped would be able to stop a god. 12 feet in diameter and filled with a variety of chemical and magical explosives, the bomb was rolled under Evan Dewar Bridge. Part of the foundation was excavated in order to allow them to embed the bomb in the bridge itself, ensuring its total concealment. 12 Durwooden men and women volunteered to stage an ambush at the bridge to keep Waidwen on it until the bomb could be detonated. The battle was short, bloody, and ultimately final. The dozen, as they came to be known, were able to delay Waidwen on the bridge. The bomb detonated, killing Waidwen. The 4 Durwooden volunteers still alive at the time, and over 50 Reitzeran soldiers marching on the front line with Waidwen. It was at that moment the Saints' War ended. The remaining Reitzeran forces were easy to rout, even though they had more than enough men and equipment to finish the siege. Their leader, previously thought invincible, had just vanished in a rain of metal and stone. Panic set in, and the Durwooden troops sent them away with ease. From that point on, the bomb was known by the name Godhammer. It even worked its way into everyday conversation. As sure as Godhammer aimed at the Saints' War came to be a standard phrase to express unequivocal certainty. Less certain is the faith of Eothas, who has not spoken to his followers since the explosion of the bomb, and is presumed by most to be dead. Lest some concerned citizens express their worry, or other more industrious think they could reproduce the result, the author would put the thoughts from your heads. Since that time, there has never been another documented explosion of such magnitude, and efforts to locate the engineers and clergy responsible for the bomb have been entirely fruitless. Godhammer was a unique, fortuitous occurrence. Its like will never be seen again without divine intervention. I think I've looked at these books, right? Yep. Selected Correspondences of Giftbringer Iden. Sigh, sing, O ocean waves of Andra's sorrow, of her unrequited love for the unattainable moon. Sing of the ocean's sorrow, so that we may forget our own. Each day the tides reenact Andra's longing for the great moon. The waters reach out at high tide, yearning for the heavenly body, only to slump into low tide when the moon proves unattainable. If you asked me once why I loved Andra so dearly, how could I go from a life on dry land to being a devotee of the goddess of the oceans? I sing of the ocean's sorrow, so that I may forget my own. It is Andra's message that speaks to my heart. I have devoted my life to helping others discard painful memories, for that is the gift Andra gave me. When I lost my young daughter, my wife and I were inconsolable until a gift bearer offered to take my toddler's toys and cast them into the deepest waters. Truth be told, I and the other gift bearers I have known have never even spoken to Andra. She's largely silent, and when she does speak, she uses floods and tidal waves instead of words. But we sing of the ocean's sorrow so that others may forget theirs. Andra's story, the story of desire unanswered, actually matters to people like you and me. Magrin cannot steer you to victory over sadness. Hylia cannot force joy down a crying throat. Only Andra can give us the strength to persevere when life seems without worth. And that is the answer to your question regarding why I love my goddess so dearly. True stories from the living lands. Only the hardiest of explorers would dare take the long, dangerous trek to the living lands. While there is no denying its beauty, the diversity of plant life alone is an herbologist's dream. The inherent risk is blithely trekking through these pristine hills is more than most should undertake. Let me take a moment to tell you about the land itself. Rolling hills, greenery, and sun. The whole area feels like a succession of hills and valleys, each with its own ecosystem. While that declaration is a tad extreme, it can almost be said to be true. The combination of sun, geographical location, proximity to fresh water, valley depth, and existence of hot springs have given the living lands a wide breadth of flora and fauna. Walk down a hillside into a valley and you will find lush, verdant hills. Climb the next rise and you might see nothing but rock and boiling mineral springs. And the creatures! In my travels, I've seen it all, and this place never ceases to amaze me. Trolls. I will never forget my encounter with the trolls of the living lands. I had just narrowly avoided being consumed by a giant plant, more on that later, and was running as fast as I could to get away from it. I broke the crest of the hill, and the valley below was wide, green, wet, and covered with low, thick-branched trees. Vines grew everywhere. Between the trees, across the tops of them, down to the ground, it was a mess of vine and green. Cautiously, I worked my way down toward the basin, keeping an eye out for anything suspicious. And it's a good thing I did so. I noticed not all the trees appeared to be trees. I froze, dropping to the ground in an effort to minimize my appearance. One of the trees moved, lumbering slowly away from the cluster. It's then I realized there was a troll. Stepping out from among the group of trees I had been resting against. With a few more steps, I would have walked right into their home. The camouflage that the trolls exhibited far exceeded any I had ever seen before. I hope to return again in the future and observe them more. Insects. While I've never seen them, I have read reports of giant insects in the living lands. Centipedes, flies, mosquitoes, and hornets, all 10 times the size you would see them elsewhere. Imagine making camp. You've just gotten everything set up. There's a nice fire going next to your shelter. Something is gently simmering in the cooking pot. You sit down, finally feeling like you can relax after a trying day. You feel a tickling at your feet, insistent and prolonged. Reaching down to brush whatever it is away, your hand comes in contact with something hard, long, and flexible winding its way around your boot. You look down to see a centipede the size of your arm casually making its way over your feet toward the far side of your camp. You would get You would get out of that camp, wouldn't you? That's exactly what my friend did when he realized he had started his fire over a centipede nest. Plants. And lest we forget, do not let your guard down around the plants. I had discovered a wonderful collection of giant flowers. They were bright pink and grew in a circle around a central stalk. What an aroma! I lack the words to describe how delectable it was. Sweet, fruity, and light with just a hint of something tangy. Looking closer, I saw some berries growing on the stalk in the center of the flowers. Well, I just had to have them, so I started pushing my way through the flowers. Then the vines growing around the base of the plant began to twitch, and the blooms turned toward me. It was at that moment I saw the blooms weren't actually flowers, but hinged jaws. I had been fooled by its camouflage. I quickly retreated, pushing my way back out just in time. The blooms slammed shut. If I'd still been standing there, trying in vain to reach the berries, I wouldn't be writing this book today. The enigmatic god of cold. Young students are often confused by Baraf and Rimgrand's seemingly overlapping roles in holding dominion over death. Baraf oversees the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Rimmergand oversees the cold, destructing act of death itself. This difference is often difficult for novices to appreciate until they've lost a loved one and endured the absence for a time. It is Baraf that determines we will be reborn just as certainly as we will die. But Rimmergand is the executioner's axe. Rimmergand shows us that all life ends in stillness. I need only show them the symbol of Rimmergand, a bone-white aurochs skull, found carved with the most ancient of Nguithan runes. It is a symbol of death and doom in every culture. Any child with 4 winters under his belt needs no introduction to the ancient symbol. Rimmergand embodies not just death, but all manifestations of collapse, be they famine, plague, or simple bad luck. Rimmergand is a primal god, silent and inscrutable as death itself. He makes himself known with his passing, not by proclamation. There are innumerable stories of the god's terrifying passage through the lands of Eora. When the beast of winter stirs, bitter winds and beastly howling follow the creature's every move. Wherever the beast plants a hoof, all life withers into dust. The faithful of Rimmergand insist that even another god's life can end in stillness. They claim the other gods must flee from the beast of winter's mastery over death. But we know not if this boast holds true. Though the beast of winter is shrouded in snowy clouds, those who have seen the shaggy white monster claim that the souls of the fallen can be seen clinging, or perhaps frozen, to the beast's fur. The dwarves of the boreal south have numerous stories that tell a similar plot. A brash hero seeks out the beast of winter to rescue the souls trapped in its fur. These tales never end well, for even if the hero saves his beloved soul, the hero dies in the process. For it is not a proper tale of Rimmergand unless the hero's life ends in stillness. So many books to read. I've read this one, right? Yeah. Cool. Keep searching. The obscured leaves clues for those of us who seek. Ah, there's Grimda. Hey there, Grimda.
Hail, traveler.
An elderly dwarf surveys the stacks. Her skin looks as tough and wrinkled as a walnut. Despite her stature, she manages to look down her nose at you. Excuse me. You're welcome to look around, but let the priests and scriveners continue their search. She shoots the nearest robed figure a withering glare. Wouldn't do to give them any other excuses. What are they looking for? Maybe I could find it. She sizes you up, stroking her chin. Could you now? She scowls at the rogue priests again. You certainly couldn't do worse than this lot, anyway. Thieves made off with an ancient scroll of Whale. They intend to blaspheme by selling that which should remain hidden, a secret of the 100 visions. Her wiry eyebrows arch over her spectacles. The guards caught one of them, but were overzealous in their interrogation. All they could piece together was something about a farmhouse and the road to Durford. Track the thieves down. I don't care what you do with them, but bring back the scroll. Whale rewards the persistent seekers. And so do I. An ancient scroll of Whale. That's a fine prize. I mean, a worthy task. I had questions about the missing scroll. How do you know about the thieves? Well, what do you know about these? Very little, except that they were foolish to believe they could steal from the God of Secrets. That, and they were fleeing to a farmhouse. How should I handle the thieves? However you can. Kill them, rob them, leave them. Makes no difference to me. She waves a hand and smiles grimly. I'll consider it one of Whale's mysteries. Okay. What's so special about this scroll? Whale is the God of Secrets. If I told you that, it'd cheapen it, wouldn't it? She cackles. It's a parable. The kind that nourishes the inquisitive mind and poisons the foolish. I'd like to know more about Whale. Her smile reveals a row of crooked teeth. That's the rub, isn't it? Whale is the god of things hidden and revealed. The more of the 100 visions one sees, the more one has yet to discover. Though we often call Whale he who sees and is not seen, it is neither male nor female. To assign any definitive characteristic to Whale is to miss another essential part of its divinity. The 100 visions? A term of reverence for Whale's many revelations. Despite the name, they're infinite. Each epiphany leads to yet another enigma. And I thought I was busy. Tell me about yourself. I am the High Archivist of the Revealed Mysteries. She coughs loudly into her fist, and I am too old and too busy to be bothered with inane questions. Even just one or two? Kinda sighs. I know, buddy, I know. No entry into the archives without Grimda's permission. And you are? Okay. I'll come back then. I'm sorry. Alright, so what's left? Scrivener's dormitory. Can't go there. More souls to reach into. Oleg Shimanovsky. You see a dark room, its contents in disarray. The blinds are pulled against the light and the sounds of shouting and running can be heard outside. This man moves through a house, throwing items into a bag. He wraps up some food, collects some clothes, and searches through a chest for various odds and ends that resemble magical components. He stops at a bookshelf and quickly scans the spines, running his fingers along them to help keep his place. He sighs, sliding his finger across the spines again, mumbling to himself. Finally, he chooses a couple of titles and takes them from the shelf, adding them to the assortment of items he has already gathered. A small group of squirrels and birds watch him as he passes through the rooms, moving almost as a single entity. What are squirrels and birds doing in a room? They are trying to stay near him, but also seem to know to stay out of his way. He is obviously in a hurry. but he maintains a deliberate demeanor about everything he does. The outer doors burst open with an explosive sound, causing the animals to scatter, terrified. The man turns, bringing a hand up, holding a book in his other, whispering something that barely can be heard. Ice crystals begin to form at the tips of his fingers, crackling against the heat of the room. He sees the man standing in the doorway and immediately drops his hands, the ice vanishing as quickly as it appeared. The man in the doorway gestures, telling him to hurry, and points towards the horizon somewhere outside. The man in the house dismisses him with a wave, saying he's almost done here and will be coming soon. He scans the dwelling once more, searching for something he might have missed. Satisfied, he leaves, not even bothering to close the door. Outside, he can see people, all prepared as he is, traveling away from town, away from the rising plumes of smoke on the horizon. Historian. You see a small crowd gathering near the entrance to a temple. This man stands against the wall, the crowd forming a semicircle around him. He speaks with a calm, measured tone, his soothing voice carrying over the sounds of the surrounding city. He speaks of the world, history, the gods, and religion. He speaks of cooking, brewing, child-raising, and old wives' tales. There does not seem to be subject he lacks, at least a passing knowledge in. People ask him questions, and he answers them in turn, sometimes being detailed and in-depth, other times giving a general answer. Regardless of what is said, all his answers seem to hit to the heart of what was asked, each person satisfied with what they learned. People come and go from the crowd, its size growing and shrinking, but never completely dissipating. Hours pass, and he never seems to tire, sharing his knowledge with anyone who would benefit from it. As the light of day wanes, the group finally growing small enough that he draws everything to a close. As he gathers his belongings and prepares to leave, a man approaches him, asking why he does this. He asks for no money, no food. What benefit is gained from his actions? He looks at the man, gathering his thoughts, then simply tells him, "Knowledge brings wisdom. That is my faith." Alright, let's check out this dormitory. Spilled tea, empty ink pots, and one detailed sketch of a fire-breathing old dwarf are all that remain of a long study session. Oh, is that a sketch of Grimda? I bet that's a sketch of Grimda. The Doughty Burglar, Their Wooden Farce, Part 1. Characters in order of appearance: Belmus, the Doughty Burglar; Torfo, the man of the house; Klana, the lady of the house; Pafenda, the maid; Irabi, an important visitor. Setting: the interior. The sitting room of Torfo's house. Night. The stage is dark, the door to the room opens, and Belmus enters holding a candle. He walks slowly through the room, picking up items, examining them, and replacing them. Presently there's a noise off stage. Belmus freezes and listens. Torfo, off stage. "Enough of this nonsense. I told you we would be returning early." Klana, off stage. "You said early. You didn't say we would be inexcusably rude." The voices are approaching the door to the sitting room. Belmus extinguishes that candle and hides behind the chair at the end of the stage, opposite the door. The door opens. Torfo, entering, followed by Klana and Pafenda, voices even and controlled. "This meeting is very important, Klana. My little cowslip Irabi is taking this meeting himself. This is unheard of." But Torfo, "Not another word." Belmus's head appears over the chair during this exchange. He watches the three interact. When Klana talks, he's entranced by her. Torfo, "Pafenda, have all the preparations been made for Irabi's arrival?" Pafenda, "Yes, sir. The special brandy has been brought from the cellar, and the other refreshments can be prepared as well." Klana, "Other?" Torfo, "Don't you dare." Torfo, "If that's what it takes, Klana, that's what I'll do. Now go prepare yourself for Araby's arrival. We must all look our best. This contract must not fail. All three leave the room. Belmas stands. Belmas. Who was that vision? Who was that goddess? Who was it that has stolen my heart just as surely as I would steal hers? I must know her. I must meet her. I must have her. But how? Am I in sneaky mode?
I shall be quiet as a calm sea.
Why, yes I am.
Which is not very.
Yoink! Corin!
Welcome.
By Whale's eyeless face, you are one short ogre. But why are you green? And how are you getting the ducks to keep flying around you like that? Let me guess, you smoked a lot of white leaf, or did you get your hands on some snowcap? He claps his hands and laughs. Snowcap. Snowcap. So few people know snowcap, much less ogres. Alright, this dude is fucking stoned. He beams at you and nods his head. You're a scrivener? He nods. Yes, I am a scrivener. I read books, I write books. I once ate a book, but only because it looked like sweet pie. Or perhaps it was sweet pie baked to look like a book. Interesting. Oh, I'm also a collector of herbs, flowers, plants. I sell them. Mostly I eat them. Tell me about the dormitory. It's where the scriveners who work at the Hall of Revealed Mysteries sleep. I'm a scrivener. He sniffs. This place smells like old stockings. Show me what you have for sale. Okay. These are just scriveners. Anything else for me to pilfer? The sturdy bunks are topped with thin blankets and even thinner mattresses.
What? Margaren's fire casts light in dark places.
Sweet. Leveled up. Got some snowcap. Alright. Let's go with stuff. I don't have enough for more survival, so I'll keep the points. That's right, I don't get to choose spells because he gets all of them as a priest. Circle of Protection. Despondent Blows. Creates a large zone of divine shelter, granting allies a bonus to all defenses. Very good. Despondent Blows. Nagging doubt in the face of unbreakable faith consumes enemies in the area of effect, lowering their melee accuracy and critical hit range. Dire Blessing. Strengthens allies' resolve in battle, increasing the probability that they will land a critical hit. Nice. Pillar of Faith. Attacks reflex. Calls down a pillar of divine judgment, inflicting crush damage and knockdown on enemies in the area of effect. Prayer against restraint. Frees allies in the area of effect from perceived constraints, granting a bonus against attacks with hobbled or stuck afflictions and reducing the duration of any such affliction currently on the target. Restore moderate endurance. Warding Seal generates a magical seal that explodes in a burst of electrical energy when an enemy comes into contact with it, inflicting shock damage. Watchful Presence. Blesses allies with the aid of a sympathetic soul, releasing a healing effect when their endurance is slow. Ooh, that is useful. Alright, now only Sagani needs
Ready,
to
Watcher.
level up, right? She still needs 120.
Ready, Watcher. Right.
They got them a kitchen. Very nice.
What? Hello. Hello?
Scroll of Revival. Though no scroll can reach beyond the shroud and returns one's fallen comrades to life, this spell can prevent their passing, for it restores to the incapacitated the vigor required to set them back on their feet. Oh, okay, so this is if you're down, it gets you back endurance. Cool.
If it makes you rest easier.
So what's left to go into? Undala's house? That's about it. I'm not sure if I'm going to go into her house yet, though. I have a feeling I'll be invited in there or told to go there for a quest sooner or later. If not, maybe I'll come back to it. But for now, I think next time, because I'm going to leave off here, I'm going to go to a different part of town. Haven't decided which yet. Whether First Fires or Brackenbury. I don't want to go to the catacombs just yet. So, figure that out next time. So, until then.